Thank you, Dan. What a pleasure. I don't believe I've heard him before, but I love that. And love will set you free. Perfect. Our guest speaker today is here all the way from Princeton, New Jersey. Her name is Sarada Chiruvolu. She will be sharing her experience toward attaining self-realization, enlightenment, through many years of meditation. While doing that, she worked at a pharmaceutical company and was a wife and a mother. She wrote a book, Home at Last, A Journey Toward Higher Consciousness. She will be signing her books for those who wish to purchase it right after the service. And also, Sarada will be conducting a complimentary workshop after the service today, again, love offering, from noon to 1:30, or maybe even a little bit earlier than that to end. And everyone is invited. So please welcome Sarada.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, just leave it there. Thank you, Laura. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure being here with all of you today, really. Yes, I did come from Princeton. That's the first time in Prescott for me. I love it, this place. First, I want to thank your Center for Spiritual Living, everyone, all the practitioners, especially Hazel Bowman, for inviting me to come and speak today. Thank you, Hazel. I think you know what the topic today is going to be about: realizing our divine essence within us. We can read about it, we can hear about it, we can do a lot of things. Until you experience it directly, it doesn't really, it makes sense, but you have to directly experience. And that's what I'm going to share today with you. My experience, how that all went for me. So several years ago, I had this all of a sudden, which I was not planning at all. It kind of turned my route around. I wasn't a spiritual person to begin with. And way into my adult life, then later on, some reason I learned Reiki in my adult life. And then that interestingly put me to meditation. I wasn't even a meditator way back then. I didn't really, I was, like she was saying, in pharmaceutical company, I was working, I am a mother, I have a husband. Normal things like everybody else. All of a sudden, God, I don't know what happened to me. Before I do that, I just want to tell you one more thing. Before I tell you my story, how this went on, I don't want to give you all the negatives only about self-realization, enlightenment process. There is a lot of, it's an inner journey. It takes a long time. Once we are ready, we will turn around and go into a different route. When divine decides, we're all ready. That's when it happens. It's not when you want it. It doesn't happen. Until then, we move on with our life, and all of a sudden, if you're ready, if you are in that right evolutionary state where something will unfold within you, and it will change your way of doing things, and you get into that. That's how it was with me. So self-realization, realizing our divine essence, is not a property of one, by the way. I just want to make sure you all understand. It is for every one of us. It's the ultimate purpose of evolution. We have to get back get rid of our egoic way of living, connect back to divine essence. Not just know about it, that divine resides, we need to connect back, which we have been disconnected with too long. So this is how, like I was saying, what happened. It is, by the way, the process takes a long time. It's not something happens 1, 2, 3, I'm in cloud 9. This for, oh boy, it's all nice and dandy now and we're going to get all the benefits and I'm happier and my life is better. Sorry guys, it's not that way. Okay? But there are, of course, tremendous amount of positiveness after you experience it, after you connect back to divine. There's, of course, it has to be good. Because the driver has changed. It's not ego any longer. It's the true nature of being that's driving you and living with you, right? You are connected with that. And that's the most important part. So there's a positiveness, of course there's. But during the process, we go through is this unfoldment, step-by-step unfoldment. So that's 3 stages we have to go through. One is awakening. First step, door opener, you have to be awakened. What does that mean? Inner energy has to be awakened. We live with such small amount of life force to function daily life, this, that, but that energy that's been in dormant, it has to wake up, and it's going to help the soul to go back, reclaim its divinity with the source it comes from. And that's very important, right? So we need that awakening to be a first step. Second is self-realization, naturally. Connecting with that true nature of our beingness, rather than egoic thing that we have developed that we've been functioning with. Isn't that why all these issues, problems, this, that? Because we forgot. We detach ourselves, put that aside, and we're living with this egoic way of living. No. We got to live with that proper driver, our own self, true nature, divine essence is within us to move us around. We're supposed to do that, but we haven't been. Eons and eons we've been living like that. So that has to be disconnected, disposed of, and then take over, the self takes over. Third, of course, is unification with the totality, the universal consciousness. Soul reclaims its divine essence with the source it comes from. With the inner energy, it goes back to the top of the head. That's where the unification takes place. All 3 must be done before you call yourself, you have experienced it totally, and you are enlightened at that time, after you get into that dimension of unification. Not before. One more important thing before all these things function well, your health. This body, this instrument, is the most important part. A healthy body is perfect for transcending or moving you forward. A sick body cannot. We humans are highly evolved beings. We all know that. We are blessed with being born as humans. Why? We have this impeccable neurophysiology arrangement within us that makes us special to be able to transcend, as opposed to other beings, other creation that God has created, insects, birds, blah, 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 XYZ, millions. Until you're a human, you take a human form, you can't transcend. So we're lucky. That's why a lot of teachers and everybody says, self-realize, get enlightened. Your life is better. You're connected with divine source, and you're driving your life with this real, true nature. And that's the most important. So the health has to be with all these neurophysiological transformations taking place and chemical things going on and energy fields perfectly aligned. All that must be perfect before you see the results. Ascension takes place. So it's a long process. But, don't be afraid of that. God is there to take care of you. Continue with your practices like me. I had continued with my meditations, hoping, everything will subside. In fact, on that deep connection with the divine, when I was meditating, I spoke. I used to say, please take me to the destination quickly. I cannot bear these issues that are coming about when I was, going through. What did I go through? In a simple way, I'm not going to go through all that. My book is there for you guys to know. When awakening takes place, a lot of heat generates within you, vibrations, because we're not used to that much of life force. So the whole organs inside and cognition, the digestive system, the nervous system, they go haywire. All these kind of vibrating everywhere, and you can't sleep, you can't eat, whatever you eat doesn't make, it doesn't go well. All these issues come about. But you continue on praying, meditating, everything gets subsided slowly, and keep meditating and everything. And it should get better and better. And then another thing is, I had this strange sense of shift in perception. What is that? What do I mean by that? It's like something, disinclination, I would say, that's the right word. Disinclination toward life in general. Nothing is making sense. What the world has to offer. Nothing. All of a sudden, I felt down the dumps for some reason. It's like mimics depression, but it's not depression, really. It is something like there's a search going on within you. There's this drive pushing you forward to do and turn around. It's something else is pointing. There's a knocking going on within you. What I'm doing didn't make sense to me. Working in a pharmaceutical company, a house, my husband, blah, blah, blah. Nothing made sense for me. It's like you wanted to just leave everything and go away. And a lot of people do too in those states. No, don't never do that. Stay where you are exactly, playing your role properly. Everything, that you make a difference that way. Don't leave your kith and kin and go over to Himalayas or caves or whatever. A lot of people that do that too. So this disinterest and this thing, and all of a sudden, that's the time my Kundalini got awakened. I already told you that, and it's all going on, and I kept meditating and meditating and meditating, thinking that it will be subside, and eventually my heat generated so badly. It's like as if I have 105 temperature or something every day. But that's not temperature really. It's like you can feel that energy, vibrations all the time in your head, your third eye area, the Christ consciousness area, bombarding with energy, But then I knew something is going on, and I knew I had to turn around, do something different in my life. I continued on. Where is the end for it? I was more and more curious about it. Read about 100 books, what the other enlightened beings have done, or what the symptoms were. Because if I told to anybody any of these things, nobody will believe me, really. Even my husband will not believe me. He's, people that are not in there, and that solitude, the level of solitude you go through, horrendous. I felt all alone. I felt no attachments, no desires, no wants, no likes. Now, that is terrible, really. That's when also what's happening with my self-realization. Later on, I continue meditation. That the ego is getting disposed. The self reveals itself. By what? What are the signs for that one? Light, bright light. That's the symptom. That's the sign number one that you have connected with your own true self. It illumines constantly. When you're deep down that depth of that silence and the stillness, which is done without any effort on your part. The meditation is taking you. Everything is taking you by itself. And you are in that silence and stillness completely. And that's when it illumines, as if, you're home now. You got connected with me now, as if somebody's telling you that. I was stunned. I was so, I don't know, I was so blissful, whatever you want to call it. And that vibrations were going, and it's such a refined way of vibration, you know? Maybe that's what we call bliss and all sorts of things. They give you the name for it. What it is a high vibrational frequency is what it is as you get in touch with yourself and divine consciousness. That's what happens. But that's not it. Now the soul has to go back to and reunite. It has to reclaim its divine essence with the source it comes from. So eventually I kept meditating. One fine morning, this is unreal when you hear this. I was saying it's so hot that day, 95, 100 degrees, and even in East Coast. I don't want to go out. I always did all my meditations outdoors, by the way. Outdoors, universe has such a plenty of vital force. It gets absorbed when you're meditating. So I was outside. Do I want to go there? I went there. All of a sudden, I was not hot. The cool breeze came to me when I was meditating, making me comfortable. I said, strange, you know, that's good. So if they become your friends, nature becomes your friend. Nature becomes uplifts you totally. And I was so glad to be there. All of a sudden, I was meditating. I didn't know where I was. Totally, outer world is gone. And I was in this finest fabric of consciousness, what I call that oneness of existence, that utmost unifying field of nothingness. It is so, it's difficult to come up with the words. It is so calm and so full of life, intelligence of its own. I call it non-dual dimension. There's so many names that people give that, you know, primordial energy, and you're part of it. The soul is unified with that. It is vibrating terribly in my head, I can tell. No consciousness, no body consciousness. I didn't know where my hands were, my legs were, my body was. Nothing. It's just a totality of that oneness totally. And that perfect unifying field of nothingness. And you just be there. Like I said, it's like that's the primordial energy we all spring from. Everything, every creation springs from there and eventually goes back into and merges back into. That's what I had experienced. And I don't even know how long I was there. I was enjoying that aha moment of that totality is fantastic, I'm telling you. And you need to experience it. And every one of you will experience it. It's not a property of one. It is for every one of us. The reason I do these talks is to encourage you to meditate or do your spiritual practices and directly experience. Yeah, it has its bad things going and you suffer a while, but look at all the good stuff that's going to be. You're ending, and it's the purpose of this life here all the time is that, to connect back. So what you experienced, you function with it. With that highest potential, you can do just about anything. And you feel that calmness, that equanimity at all times to function and do anything you want in life. Now, isn't that what we want? Instead of constantly worrying about, worrying about suffering, old age, continuously coming back, the cycle of repetition, coming, dying, coming. I call it this compelled imprisonment of reincarnation. I say that. I know Easterners use the word reincarnation, but I say cycles of life, death, life, death. God only knows how many lives we led. Enough, I said after that. My God. Repeating is like a kid repeating third grade or fourth grade continuously over and over and over and over. God only knows. Wouldn't that be terrible? Actually, after the experience, you are thankful that divine so much for bringing you back to him. And I thank him even today, every day, that I don't have to come back in a form any longer. That's the biggest advantage. Why you have to do it? This ultimate purpose of evolution. We have to end this humanity, the embodying constantly, constantly coming back. Oh yeah, I'm going to die. I'm coming back again anyway, so let's go back to the same old laundry. No, please. It's not good, believe me, because we've been there, done it a million times. So that's how exactly it was. And then one more thing is that it's not going to be easy living after that experience. I fell down actually after I came out of some people give up their bodies when they're in that state of togetherness with union with the divine. It takes a while until consciousness resumes taking over all the faculties. You feel better, you get up. I fell down for a while, and then I felt heavy. My feet were fat, my hands were as if it's dead. The body didn't have that vital force any longer. Everything went back, right? It has to come back. And you function again, but I didn't want to. It's like all these desires are gone, all these interests are gone, everything is gone, but yet burdened by that extreme experience of self-realization. It's like you don't want to do. It's like you taste nectar and everything, comparatively speaking, tastes terrible afterwards. You don't want to be coming back and doing the same thing again and again. It's not interesting any longer. You're together with the family, but you're not really together with the family. You are attached, at the same time you're detached. But it's good in a way. There's no attachments, no, hanging on and clinging on to this life and then into the worldly things. You're in the world, but not of the world. And you're doing so much more for the society and so much more for helping others, uplift them, and, come back and do these things until divine gives you another assignment. Who knows, right? You don't embody, but until then you function well with full energy, full potential you have, and the utmost interest and vibration, and you eventually vibrate with your own self, highest vibrational, with that highest frequency. You have to embody everything that you have experienced into this body again. That's when you're completely done. Then you can live like that. And there's a totally different, it's like a new life, new birth. It's not even on a new driver. Naturally, initially it's going to take time. It took me 2 years before I can get adjusted to everything. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go shopping. I didn't want any. Even today, my desires are all gone. My interests are all gone. I live day to day, present moment, in now. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. It'll take care of itself. That's how I live today. And I do these talks to encourage people, so your turn will come when you have to go through that process. You never know. All these signposts and the negativity, don't get disappointed and give up. Continue. Divine is always guiding you and bringing you back. And that's the best part. Thank you so much.
So it is our custom to, at this point of the service, begin to wind down and tie things together with prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And take in yet another few ideas that allow us to do something that Ernest Holmes spoke of when he wrote What We Believe nearly 100 years ago. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. This morning has been yet and shall continue to be a continuing awakening of that individual soul on a journey of connecting once again and reconnecting with what Holmes called an oversoul, the greater soul. And where it goes once this journey in this body, in this form is done, we can discuss, argue, decide yes or no, because nobody has come back to specifically explain it yet. So, as someone pointed out to us not too long ago, for those of you who believe in reincarnation, this is the life you've been dying to live. And we choose to live it fully, remaining teachable, knowing that the two words of pain and suffering need not go together, because no one gets out without some pain, which is educational at the very least. And we welcome the education. No one can avoid it. Suffering, on the other hand, is continual, and we carry it, and it appears to be endless. We need no longer suffer. Suffering is entirely optional, while pain is inevitable, and at the end of the pain there is relief, and there is another ray of enlightenment. And for this enlightenment that each of us has exhibited before this day, on this day, and after this day, I offer our full and loving thanks. And I also offer our commitment as family to support each other through this process, this awakening, and this ever expanding experience of happiness, joy, freedom, and peace. How good it is to acknowledge the journey to this point and then continue in full anticipation of watching it unfold evermore and evermore. And so it is.